Hey everybody, please bear with me today. I woke up feeling just a little under the weather, not too bad, but it had me very groggy this morning. I slept most of the day, and I had a low-grade fever, and I didn't even make it to church today, unfortunately. But one of the problems is a lot of the attendees of the church, including myself, have other underlying health issues, be it age, heart issues, other health problems. I fall in the heart issue category. So I've learned, ever since the time of the lockdowns, when you feel a certain way, like if it's just a sniffle, throw a mask on and go out. But if you're feeling particularly down, or you again show signs of a fever, don't risk it. Don't go around people. Don't spread nothing around. And again, that part wasn't built from the lockdowns. That's just common sense, but unfortunately that's not as rampant today as it should be. So, I've already killed enough time, and this is going to be somewhat of a long one. I've got several to throw at you today, but I will try to get through it as quickly and efficiently as possible. A friend of mine had asked me to, his request was to note the difference between temptation and sin, and I'm going to get to that, but that actually started me down this rabbit hole. So today we're just going to talk about temptation by itself. We're going to start in Genesis chapter 4, verse 7. If you had done the right thing, you would be smiling, but because you have done evil, sin is crouching at your door. It wants to rule you, but you must overcome it. And then we're going to jump all the way into the New Testament now and go to Matthew chapter 26, verse 41. This is when Jesus was praying at Gethsemane, just before the crucifixion. Keep watch and pray that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. And if you look in Mark chapter 14, verse 38, it's the exact same wording, or at least in my Bible it was. 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 5. Do not deny yourselves to each other, unless you first agree to do so for a while in order to spend your time in prayer, but then resume normal marital relations. In this way you will be kept from giving in to Satan's temptation because of your lack of self-control. And I picked that one specifically, even though this is more specific about marital relations. I like that last line, because of your lack of self-control. Remember, self-control is a fruit of the Spirit. Oh, excuse me. All right, now we're going to go to 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13. Every test that you have experienced is the kind that normally comes to people, but God keeps his promise, and he will not allow you to be tested beyond your power to remain firm. At the time you are put to the test, he will give you the strength to endure it, and so provide you with a way out. All right, so have you ever heard somebody say the phrase, God won't give you more than you can handle? That's where that came from, although that's not quite, the way people use it isn't quite the way it's meant. Now we're going to go to Galatians chapter 15, verses 16 and 17. What I say is this: let the Spirit direct your lives, and you will not satisfy the desires of the human nature. For what our human nature wants is opposed to what the Spirit wants, and what the Spirit wants is opposed to what our human nature wants. These two are enemies, and this means that you cannot do what you want to do. And then still in Galatians chapter 6, verse 1. My brothers, if someone is caught in any kind of wrongdoing, those of you who are spiritual should set him right, but you must do it in a gentle way, and keep an eye on yourselves so that you will not be tempted too. And we go to Ephesians chapter 4, verses 26 and 27. If you become angry, do not let your anger lead you into sin, and do not stay angry all day. Don't give the devil a chance. And then in 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 22, avoid the passions of youth, and strive for righteousness, faith, love, and peace together with those who with a pure heart call out the Lord for help. And then we're going to James chapter 1, verses 12 through 16. Happy is the person who remains faithful under trials, because when he succeeds in passing such a test, he will receive as his reward the life which God has promised to those who love him. If a person is tempted by such trials, he must not say this temptation comes from God, for God cannot be tempted by evil, and he himself tempts no one. But a person is tempted when he is drawn away and trapped by his own evil desire. Then his evil desire conceives and gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is full grown, gives birth to death. Do not be deceived, my dear brothers. And then we're going to James chapter 4, verse 7. So then, submit yourselves to God, resist the devil, and he will run away from you. And in other words, it's resist the devil and he will flee from you. Same thing. Just in case that sounded familiar. And now we'll go to 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 1 and 2. Since Christ suffered physically, you too must strengthen yourselves with the same way of thinking that he had, because whoever suffers physically is no longer involved with sin. From now on, then, you must live the rest of your earthly lives controlled by God's will and not by human desires. And we're going to go to 1 John chapter 2, verses 15 to 17. Do not love the world or anything that belongs to the world. If you love the world, you do not love the Father. Everything that belongs to the world, what the sinful self desires, what people see and want, and everything in this world that people are so proud of, none of this comes from the Father. It all comes from the world. The world and everything in it that people desire is passing away, but he who does the will of God lives forever. And then the last one is 1 John chapter 4, verse 4. But you belong to God, my children, and have defeated the false prophets, because the Spirit who is in you is more powerful than the Spirit in those who belong to the world. Greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. Again, that sounds, a lot of those should have sounded familiar. And I know I'm going over on this one, but this one's kind of, important. Temptation is what opens the door to sin, and sin is what gets you in trouble. Temptation itself is not sin, and when temptation arrives, there's always an exit. You just have to look for it. Some people say I didn't have a choice. No, you had a choice. You just didn't like the other option. And that's where accountability comes in. That's what integrity is. Integrity is standing by your principle regardless of what the outcome is going to be. You do what is right. One of the great things I like in the movie Kingdom of Heaven, one of my absolute favorite movies, there's a line, and it goes, "Speak the truth, even if it leads to your death." And I live by that. Like, I'm so real, I can't even fake a smile. All right, and there's a story behind that I'll get to someday, I'm sure. A funny story. But I've already gone over, in time, like by a lot. So hopefully I haven't lost too many of these. Hopefully, that gives some answers to some questions. And just, it's just like we were talking about the other day about endurance. Just hold steady, hold tight to the end. If you get in your word and you know what the right thing is, stick to the right thing. And that is a gross oversimplification, but it's also the design. I've said before, the more complex or complicated something is, the more easily corrupted it is. But if you kiss life, keep it super simple, you can't corrupt simplicity. You can't. You have to make it complex before you can corrupt it. So that in mind, take care of yourselves, try and help take care of each other. I'll see you in the next one.